Welcome back. As you probably may see behind me, there's a monument in remembrance of all those who fell victim in all the various world wars. And the latest what's coming out of Ukraine is Kiev is absolutely in total panic. Probably may have heard in news of a certain important place which Ukrainians must at all costs take control. The problem is they haven't got much military personnel to dedicate it for this type of operation. They're going to have to take all the forces which they currently have around in various scenarios of conflict with the Russians, and they have to concentrate all in that point. What comes out now is the numbers. The Pirates of Brussels, who's sort of online, says there was more than 100,000 casualties on the Ukrainian side. She's going on about war crimes and all over shit. The thing is, it's 300,000 between deaths, injuries, and people are totally permanently disabled due to the war. And the thing is, those people who were injured in the war, they just basically, Ukrainians just grab them out of the hospital bed and throw them out onto the battle line. What happened to an Australian mercenary nicknamed Ninja, and then he got killed. And there's a lot of stories about Romanian and Polish soldiers which volunteered to be drafted and then put on Ukrainian uniforms. And there's a lot of deaths which are coming back slowly back to Poland and shortly to Ukraine. And I think that people should ask themselves, why the fuck we're in this fucking mess? Well, you should ask yourselves, you find yourself in a war which is a loser's war, and an ex-NATO general for Europe, all these offences, and the last offences which the Ukrainians are conducting against the Russians, the Russians are leading them into a trap. Like Kherson, that's a trap. Because military tactics are, when a person retreats, they make you believe you're weak. And therefore, the enemy lowers its guard and lowers its attention. And then afterwards, slowly, it lures you into a trap. Like all the military equipment which the Ukrainians, with a so-called advancing into no man's land, which has no strategic military importance, tanks and armoured vehicles just sunk in the mud. Well, if they have NATO intelligence which supplies them know-how, and their military equipment are sinking in the mud of the Ukrainians, they won't have much of a fighting chance against the Russians, because the Russians, when it's the ground frozen, rock solid, at any time they were going into for the main kill. And the Russians are continuing bombing Kiev with the usual drones and missiles, and using old nuclear missiles as decoys, which don't have nuclear warheads, to keep that so-called Ukrainian air defence a little bit busy while you're sending the missiles to hit the targets, because they're obliged to switch on the radar to keep trace of them. Otherwise, you don't know how to target these missiles if you want to respond. So the Russians are going to keep them busy on that. And I don't think in the long run Ukraine will win this war. It's a proxy war which the Americans are using Ukrainian people to fight against the Russians. People have got to realise this, because they talk a lot about escalation. If it spreads, that means Europe could get involved. And the fact the infrastructures in Western Ukraine, like gas, electricity and water, are being destroyed, we're talking about many millions of people as refugees pouring into Poland and Germany. And Europe, where it's economical and energetic situation, don't need a social time bomb with refugees. Just only create social conflicts with people, with locals really. There was talk about Americans and Russians, they want to do some type of ceasefire or peace deal. It has to be on the Russian terms, because Zelensky has got much, or probably zero, demands to do. The only thing for them is to do a peace deal or truce or whatever is in the Russians' hands, end of story. Because they should have thought about this years ago, when Kiev started attacking civilians in Donbass, killing around about 15,000 of them.